When the Chinese-made J-10C fighter jet shot down a French Rafale over Kashmir with zero combat losses, does it mean that the pattern of global air power is being quietly rewritten? The seemingly regional air war between India and Pakistan, but because of the overwhelming performance of the J-10C, tearing open the deep cracks in the logic of modern warfare in addition to the paper comparison of equipment performance, systematic combat capabilities and strategic thinking generation difference is reshaping the balance of the battlefield winners and losers. This conflict not only let India and France into strategic reflection, but also in the Russian military community caused shock. The controversial post-war article by Roman Skamarkov, editor-in-chief of Russia's Military Monitor, has become an excellent entry point for understanding this change, with its viewpoints reflecting the complexity of technological evaluation and implying the subtle game of military-industrial rivalry among the major powers. The victory of J-10C firstly comes from the breakthrough of technology generation difference. The KL-J7, a gallium nitride active phased array radar, contains 1,200 T/R components, with a detection distance of 240 kilometers, far exceeding the 160-kilometer detection capability of the gallium arsenide radar used in the Indian Rafale F4.2 version. The forbidden bandwidth of gallium nitride material is 2.4 times that of gallium arsenide, and the breakdown field strength and power density are exponentially increased, which enables the J-10C to be the first to lock onto the target in over-the-horizon air combat, and create a 145-kilometer effective strike window for PL-15E missiles. Although the French Meteor missile has a theoretical range of 150 kilometers, it relies on the RB-2AA radar, which is limited to 120 kilometers due to its insufficient number of components and weak anti-jamming capability. This detection strike link of the generational differences, directly leading to the Indian Army in the air war into the invisible, cannot hit, passive situation. Deeper technical advantage is reflected in the electronic warfare and system integration level. Shot down, Rafale BS-001 wreckage, worth $40 million. Spectral electronic countermeasures system is in a state of non-activation. 108 interference bands are completely ineffective. The French investigation showed that Indian pilots, due to the operation process is not familiar with the system, failed to complete the warm-up, and behind this is the French refused to open source code, resulting in equipment integration defect. The Indian Army even need to rely on the French technical team for core system maintenance. In contrast, the Chinese standard system, built by China for Pakistan, realizes seamless synergy. ZDK-03 early warning aircraft distributes real-time target information within a detection radius of 400 kilometers to J-10C through quantum encrypted data chain, and forms a find and destroy closed-loop system in conjunction with the ground-based Red Flag 9 air defense system. The J-10C can form a closed-loop killing chain with the ground-based Red Flag 9 air defense system, which can destroy the target when it is found. This systematic advantage, so that the Pakistani side in the April 2025 conflict hit 83% of the missiles, while the Indian Army launched 12 Meteor missiles did not hit. Russian expert Skamarkov's controversial statement reveals the complex mentality of traditional military powers. On the one hand, he recognizes the combat effectiveness of PL-15E missiles, but on the other hand, he questions the battlefield narrative that it takes dozens of missiles to shoot down a Rafale, and tries to diminish the technological aura of China's weapons by blurring the number of launches. This contradiction is essentially a calculation of Russia's military-industrial interests, while the Dragon Block 3 is capturing the Southeast Asian market with its 600mm diameter radar and more than 1,000 T/R components. The MiG-35's share of the Middle East is being eroded. China's military trade exports will exceed Russia's in 2024, with 60% of the incremental increase in exports coming from high-end aerospace equipment, and China's military trade is expected to exceed Russia's by 2024, with the increase in exports coming from high-end aerospace equipment. This kind of contrast compels Russia to maintain its traditional sphere of influence by holding up France and suppressing China. What is interesting is that Skamarkov deliberately attributed the results of the war to the Dragon, rather than the officially recognized J-10C. This selective blindness is actually a strategy for the struggle for the right to speak. Russia needs to maintain the narrative of Russian-made weapons on par with Western equipment, because recognizing the loss of the 4.5 generation gap would shake its military trade foundation. The Su-57 has yet to form a complete combat system, while China has decentralized its J-20 technology to build a cloud warfare system. The cloud warfare capability has been built up through the decentralization of J-20 technology in China. The Balance of Power in Indian Space report released by the RAND Corporation provides a quantitative perspective on the conflict. Its System Integration Coefficient covers 32 parameters such as data chain compatibility, intelligent decision-making, and multi-domain coordination, etc. The J-10C scored 1.87 points for its in-depth integration into China's combat system, while the Indian Rafale scored only 0.63 points. This gap is visualized in actual combat, as the difference in the effectiveness of the early warning aircraft. The Pakistani ZDK-03 can track 300 targets at the same time and guide 24 fighters, while the Indian A-50 early warning aircraft, due to the incompatibility of the data chain, unable to transmit information in real time to the Rafale, resulting in the Indian pilots still need to rely on voice communication to coordinate tactics. The consequences of system fragmentation are especially obvious in missile defense. When the J-10C through the distributed sensor network to obtain multiple target guidance, Rafale, Meteor, missiles, but due to the lack of system support in the final stage of guidance, is reduced to a headless flies. The intervention of artificial intelligence and quantum technology has further amplified this generation gap. China's conflict-proven cognitive domain combat model, through the battlefield Internet of Things, will be satellites, drones, ground radar information flow integration into a dynamic kill network. The J-10C is equipped with an intelligent assisted decision-making system that can complete threat ranking and weapon allocation in 0.3 seconds. While the Indian Army is still stuck at the level of manually reading the radar screen, more far-reaching impact is reflected in the supply chain level. China's export control of gallium, germanium and other key materials, directly stuck in the lifeblood of the Western military industry. F-35 APG-85 gallium nitride radar upgrades due to material shortages delayed until 2026. While China has built a gallium purification to the chip manufacturing of the whole industry chain closed loop, the most profound lesson of the air war was to declare the end of the silver bullet weapon myth. Greek Rafale has been in the exercise against the F-22 to achieve a down record, but in South Asia by the systematic J-10C descending blow, confirming the modern war. 3 points of equipment, 7 points of the system. The iron law of 3 points of equipment, 7 points of the system of modern warfare. India spent $23 billion to purchase 36 Rafale, but because of the lagging training system, logistical support disjointed, and ultimately will be reduced to advanced equipment, expensive furnishings. For the global military landscape, this conflict reveals the collision of two development paths. The West continues the single machine performance priority, linear thinking, while China pioneered the system empowerment, ecological model. When the United States is still for F-35 Block 4, upgrade Coral, China has through the Mazu, quantum satellites and Jinan-1, micro-nano satellite to build a communication network of heaven and earth, to achieve from the key distribution to the command and control of the whole link anti-jamming. This kind of system revolution, beyond the hardware level, is redefining the connotation of military competitive advantage. The paradox of history is that, when Russian experts are still debating the paper parameters of the Rafale and the J-10C, China's military industry has quietly begun the exploration of sixth-generation fighter aircraft. From loyal wingman clusters to high-energy microwave weapons, from brain-computer interface flight control to quantum radar networking, these technologies are no longer sci-fi concepts. At the Zhuhai Air Show in 2025, the formation synergy between the Strike 11 drones and the J-20S has already demonstrated the beginnings of a distributed kill chain. Perhaps in less than a decade, the debate over 4.5-generation fighters will be relegated to a stale topic in military museums, like the World War II battleship showdown. Because what really determines victory or defeat is not the flutter of steel wings, but the flow of quantum bits and intelligent algorithms in the invisible network. And those who stick to the traditional advantages, refuse to cognitive evolution of the military system, will eventually become a footnote of the times in the flood of the system revolution.